Chief Simmons, we as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believe in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. That is one of our original tenets of this faith. And with that, we want you to know we're grateful for you. We support you. My question to you is, what brought you to this role as Chief of Police here in this wonderful community of Liberty Lake?
That's actually a very near and dear question, actually. And I can tell you it was faith. If you would have told me 2 years ago I would have been in this position, I would have giggled and laughed and told you to go about your business. But when I was advised that the former chief, Brian, was going to retire, and this position was going to open up, and if I was interested, initially I had some doubts. I had some doubts that I was prepared, even though I had set myself up through education and work experience to do this eventually, hopefully. But the main thing that I did was I sat down and I prayed. I talked to my family and I prayed, and I just listened. And I think God told me I was ready. And of course I listened and I said, Lord, if you say I'm ready, I'll apply and I'll pray. And of course I'll respect any decision that's made. And if I'm gracious enough and to get the position, awesome. If not, what a great experience it would be just to go through that process.
We know in this wonderful community of Liberty Lake, really this is a beautiful place to live, to raise families, and we continue to want to strengthen this area, particularly families, particularly children. Chief Simmons, how can we identify and help those that are struggling, families or children that are struggling? What do you see in our community?
Of course, as with many communities across the world right now, dealing with COVID is our number one priority. One of the main effects, one of the main variables that I've seen is depression. It's really hit home. We've seen an increase, unfortunately, in suicides, suicide attempts, suicidal ideations. So just making sure that we're paying attention, close attention, especially to our children. Using technology. Technology is great. One of the things I've done with my mother is I bought her a Facebook portal so we can communicate. So things like that are awesome when we can't have that face-to-face or personal, intimate contact.
Thank you. That really brings to mind how important it is that we connect with one another. Our neighbors, for example. I think in this day and age, especially this last year, it's easy to hunker down and to be isolated. And I think, what I heard you saying, in part is let's get out there and reach out to one another, particularly our youth. I appreciate that thought. Each of us, as we get to know, for example, our neighbors, do we talk to them when we're out there in the front of our houses? Do we know their phone numbers? Are we reaching out and knowing each other so that when something comes up that we'll be there to support one another? Chief Simmons, last question. How can our members support you, your staff, your department, your officers in your work in building and lifting up this community and keeping it safe?
Well, this is such a supportive community overall. So it's really hard to ask for anything more. It's great going to work and just being able to get out of your car or ride down the street and wave and stop and talk and just have great conversations with community members. That's an everyday thing here. One of the things that I would love to see is the community continue to act as additional eyes and ears for us. One of the things that we've seen is an increase in property crimes in our community. And I think a little bit of that has to do with COVID, but overall there's been an increase over the last couple of years throughout the county. So just assisting us by being, again, those additional eyes and ears, and also practicing a sound personal crime prevention habits. Locking your doors, leaving your garage door down at night, making sure that it's not left up. Just making sure that we're practicing good personal crime prevention habits.
Thank you. I think that's great advice. I hate to say it, but having left my garage door open all night and leaving some cars unlocked and having them run through, I'm well aware, that we as individuals could do more. I think, brothers and sisters, it's also important to remember that as part of a community, that we look out for the most vulnerable. This is really what Chief Simmons and his officers do. They're out there to protect those who are in tough situations. I love that he said, in our community, we wave to the officers and encourage them. We do support them because we know in some instances they actually can put their life on the line to protect us and our community. Chief Simmons, we're grateful for you.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you as you serve in this capacity and know that you'll continue to do a great job. And thank you for visiting with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.